The light went out. The crowd froze. A moment later, boom, the entire arena exploded in chaos. Smoke, fire, and shockwaves as she is back, walking through the flames like a queen of destruction. Nobody expected this. Not the fans, not the superstars, not even the commentary team. This is the kind of return that changes everything. Let's freeze that moment. Before the pyro hit, there was a split second of absolute silence. It wasn't just quiet, it was a vacuum. 20,000 people simultaneously held their breath. In the world of cinematic storytelling, we call this the anticipatory void. It's that breathless instant where the brain knows something massive is imminent, but it hasn't processed what it is yet. When her music finally hit, it wasn't just a sound. It was a physical force that slammed into the chest of every person in that arena. Minimalist visuals here would just show thousands of tiny stick figureheads turning in perfect unison toward the entrance ramp. That single synchronized movement tells you more about her power than any championship belt ever could. It represents total command over an audience. The chaos that followed the screaming, the jumping, the disbelief was just the release valve for all that tension. She didn't just walk out. She detonated the atmosphere. For the viewer at home, it's a reminder of why we endure the boring matches and the predictable storylines just for that one rare hit of pure, unadulterated shock. It's a drug, and she is the ultimate supplier. As she emerged from the smoke, the camera didn't need to focus on her face. Her silhouette alone was enough to tell the world that the landscape had just been violently rewritten. While the fans were losing their minds, a different drama was unfolding inside the squared circle. Imagine being the champion standing in that ring. Moments ago, you were the center of the universe. You had the gold, the spotlight, and the microphone. You were in complete control of the narrative. Then, the light went out. In the darkness, that control evaporated instantly. When the light came back on, you weren't watching a return. You were watching your own relevance being challenged. The minimalist animation here should focus on the champion's posture. A slight slump of the shoulders, a half step backward. These tiny micro-movements betray a deep-seated insecurity. It's the realization that, despite all your hard work, you were just keeping her seat warm. She didn't rush to the ring. That's the key to her power. She walked slowly. Every deliberate step was a psychological dagger to the person standing in the ring. It communicated zero fear and total dominance. She let the champions sweat, let them marinate in the noise of a crowd that had suddenly forgotten who was holding the belt. This wasn't just about a physical confrontation that might happen next week. This was immediate psychological warfare. The champion's eyes darted from the entrance ramp to the referee, looking for some kind of anchor in a reality that was rapidly dissolving. But there was no help coming. They were alone on an island, watching a tsunami approach in slow motion. This perspective is crucial because it grounds the spectacle in very real human emotion, the fear of being replaced, overshadowed, and outclassed by a ghost from the past who just became flesh and blood again. If you think the arena was chaotic, it was nothing compared to the scene behind the curtain. Gorilla position, the nerve center of the entire showers, lose like a military operation. But the moment her music hit, that military precision dissolved into a frantic scramble. Producers who have seen everything were suddenly ripping up perfectly formatted scripts. Hours of creative meetings, weeks of planned storylines, all rendered obsolete in 10 seconds of entrance music. You could see the headset-wearing directors frantically gesturing, trying to figure out how to cut the remaining segments to make time for this unscripted eternity. They needed to capture every second of her walk, which meant someone else's big match was getting cut. It's a brutal reality of the business. Her return didn't just add something, it took something away from others. In the minimalist style, imagine a neatly stacked pile of papers representing the night's plan suddenly being blown away by a gust of wind. That wind is her. The chaos backstage isn't just panic, it's the frantic energy of opportunity. The smart producers knew this was lightning in a bottle. They stopped trying to stick to the format and started riding the wave. They were shouting orders to cameramen. Forget the wide shot, get close, get her eyes. They knew that this unscripted, raw emotion is what prints money. It was a beautiful disaster. A perfect storm where the carefully crafted fictional world collided violently with real-life star power. The sheer adrenaline in that small control area could probably power a city block, all generated by one person simply deciding it was time to come back to work. Deep in the locker room, far from the roaring crowd, the monitors flickered with the image of her return. This is where the real story often hides. In a minimalist view, picture a room full of diverse stick figures. When that music hit, every single one of them stopped what they were doing. Taping wrists ceased. Warm-up stretches froze mid-mix. Conversations died instantly. There's a complex cocktail of emotions in that room. For the veterans, there's a nod of respect, perhaps tinged with a little weary anxiety. They know the bar just got raised again. They know the physical toll required to keep up with her intensity. For the rookies, it's pure terror mixed with awe. They grew up idolizing her, and now they have to share a workspace with her. They are suddenly wondering if they even belong in the same league. You see, her presence changes the ecosystem. It's like introducing an apex predator back into a wild habitat. Everyone else has to adjust their behavior immediately if they want to survive. Some of the talent in the back were likely angry. They'd been busting their backs every week, carrying the show in her absence, only to be immediately overshadowed the second she decided to return. It's a valid human feeling, the frustration of hard work being eclipsed by sheer star power. Yet, even through the jealousy, they couldn't look away from the monitor. Because deep down, they are fans too. They knew that her being back meant more eyes on the product, which eventually means more money for everyone. It's a love-hate relationship that defines the competitive heart of this industry. While the arena rocked and backstage scrambled, a different kind of explosion was happening in the digital space. Seconds after her silhouette appeared, social media platforms began to buckle under the strain. It wasn't just a trending topic, it was a complete takeover of the global conversation. Imagine a minimalist map of the world. As she stepped through the curtain, tiny lights began igniting across every continent. First, a few in the time zone of the live broadcast, then spreading like wildfire as Europe woke up, as Asia checked their phones. It was a digital tsunami of shock emojis, capitalized letters, and blurry screenshots taken from TV screens. This digital chaos is part of the modern wrestling narrative. The story isn't just told in the ring anymore, it's told in the millions of immediate reactions from strangers connecting over a shared moment of disbelief. Fan theories that had been dormant for months suddenly reactivated. "I told you she was coming back," became the battle cry of the faithful who never stopped believing. Skeptics were deleting their old posts where they claimed she was done forever. It's fascinating how a single entrance can rewrite months of online discourse instantly. The emotional connection people have to her is so strong that her return felt personal to them. They weren't just watching a show. They felt vindicated, rewarded for their loyalty. This digital outpouring is the modern applause, a thundering standing ovation that lasts for days instead of minutes, echoing across servers and timelines, ensuring that even those who don't watch wrestling knew that something major had just happened. Eventually, the show ends. The lights in the arena go down, the production trucks pack up, and the noise fades. We need to look at the quietest moment of the night. Her alone, finally back in her private dressing room. After the adrenaline dump of thousands of screaming fans, there is always a crash. Minimalist animation could show a lone figure sitting on a bench, head in hands, not in sadness, but in overwhelming relief. The pressure to deliver that perfect return moment is immense. What if they hadn't cheered? What if the timing was off? All those fears dissolve only when it's over. She likely picked up her phone not to check social media, but to call home. This is the human side we rarely see. To the world, she's a mythical phoenix rising from the ashes. To someone else, she's just a mother, a wife, or a daughter checking in after a crazy day at work. That conversation wasn't about championship belts or trending topics. It was probably about if the kids slept okay or what was for dinner tomorrow. This grounding reality is what fuels the unstoppable energy she displays in the ring. She can be the larger-than-life superhero because she has that quiet, normal foundation to return to. It's a necessary anchor. Without it, the character would consume the person. That quiet moment in the dressing room, washing off the face paint and unwrapping the taped wrists, is the real victory lap. She survived the chaos she created, and now she just gets to be human again for a few hours before the circus starts all over. Why now? That's the question that haunts the narrative. She could have returned a month ago or waited for WrestleMania. Choosing this specific random Friday night wasn't an accident. It was a calculated mass. Her absence had become a character in itself. In storytelling, what you don't show is often more powerful than what you do. Every week she wasn't there. Her legend grew. The fans filled the void with their own hopes and mythologies. They remembered her better than she perhaps actually was, turning her into a faultless deity of the ring. By staying away, she let that hunger build until it was ravenous. If she had returned too soon, it would have just been another segment. By waiting until the memory of her started to ache, she ensured maximum emotional impact. It's the difference between a daily meal and a feast after a fast. Minimalist visuals here could represent a voided, empty outline of her figure that slowly gets filled with vibrant color the longer she stays away. The current roster had been fighting for scraps of attention, exhausting themselves to keep the audience engaged. She let them do the heavy lifting, let them tire themselves out, and then she swooped in when the iron was hottest. It's a brilliant, almost predatory use of time. She understood that silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. She let the audience write the script of her return in their heads, and then she simply walked onto the stage they had mentally built for her. Did you notice what didn't happen? She didn't pick up a microphone. In an era where everyone talks too much, explaining every motivation and feeling, she said absolutely nothing. She walked through the fire, stared down the champion, and left. That silence is deafening. It forces us, the audience, to do the work. We have to analyze her body language, the tilt of her head, the specific way she looked at the title belt. Was it hunger? Was it contempt? Was it mere curiosity? By not defining it with words, she allows every fan to project their own desired narrative onto her. A standard superstar would have cut a 10-minute promo detailing exactly where they've been and what they want. It removes all mystery, but she understands that mystery is magnetic. The commentators were begging for an explanation, but she gave them nothing but her presence. In our minimalist visual, this is a blank speech bubble over her head, which is far more intimidating than one filled with angry text. It's the ultimate power move to deny everyone the easy answers. It keeps you tuning in next week. You have to know what she's going to say when she finally decides to speak. She holds the cards. She controls the flow of information. In a noisy world, the person who stays silent is the one everyone ends up listening to the most intently. The landscape of SmackDown has now fundamentally shifted. Gravity has moved. Before her return, the show orbited around the current champion. Now, everything orbits around her, regardless of who holds the belt. Every storyline that was currently running now has to be viewed through the lens of her return. How does this affect her? Becomes the primary question for every segment. Mid-card wrestlers who thought they were climbing the ladder just found out the ladder got 10 feet taller. The writers now have a new ultimate weapon in their arsenal, but it's a dangerous one. If they use her too much, the novelty wears off. If they don't use her enough, the fans revolt. It's a delicate ecosystem. Minimalist imagery here could show a balanced scale that is suddenly slammed completely to one side by a single heavy weight. The entire roster has to scramble to find their footing on this newly tilted floor. Alliances will break because some will want to align with her power, while others will band together to try and stop her. It's a narrative goldmine, creating endless possibilities for conflict and drama. The comfortable routine of the past few months is dead. The chaos she brought isn't just a one-night event, it's the new status quo. Everyone has to level up or get left behind in the smoke she left in her wake. And here lies the twist, the deeper reflection on this unstoppable energy. We assumed she came back for the glory, for the championship, to reclaim her throne. But what if she didn't? Look closely at her eyes in that final moment before the screen faded to black. There wasn't just ambition there. There was a hint of sadness, perhaps even resignation. What if she came back not to win the game, but to break it? Maybe she realized during her time away that the entire cycle, the fighting, the politics, the endless pursuit of gold is a trap. Her unstoppable energy might not be about building a new legacy, but about burning down the corrupted parts of the old one. She might be here to destroy the very pedestal fans put her on, to show them that their heroes are flawed, broken, and dangerously human. The true chaos she brings might not be physical destruction, but philosophical deconstruction of what it means to be a superstar. The ultimate shock wouldn't be her winning the title next week. It would be her winning it and then dropping it in the center of the ring and walking away, proving she no longer needs the validation it represents. She's back. Yes, but she might just be the villain in her own hero's journey, here to free herself by burning down the temple she helped build.